Fraud is a constant threat to your notary commission. You need a shield. The book by Derek Spruill, Notary Fraud Shield, could provide you with some advice. Learn real-world tactics, notice red flags, and develop refusal strategies to protect your notary commission. Buy your copy of Notary Fraud Shield by Derek Spruill from any online bookstore, Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble Bookstore, booksofmillion.com, bookshop.org, Mobile Notary by DerekSpruill.com, or download from Kindle to obtain your essential notary book to help with all your notarization starting today.
Imagine looking at a driver's license, meticulously writing down the ID number in your journal.
Right.
And then just being slapped with a massive legal penalty.
Right.
In California, you face a civil penalty of up to $10,000 if you fail to record that specific serial number in certain situations.
Oh, yeah. 10,000.
Right. But if you take that exact same action in Texas, you're committing this serious privacy violation and, stepping right into a statutory minefield.
It's a complete contradiction.
Yeah.
And it perfectly illustrates why verifying identity isn't just about, glancing at a piece of plastic and nodding your head.
Definitely not.
It's a highly specific, state-mandated legal operation. What makes you a compliant professional in one state can literally get your commission revoked in another.
Wow. Well, welcome to Notary Knowledge, your fast-paced, informative broadcast with your hosts Marylyn and Eddie. If you're just joining the broadcast today, in prior shows we've covered the absolute basics of holding a notary commission. But today we're launching into a brand new Foundational Fridays segment, navigating expired IDs and credible witnesses. We are looking at the ultimate gatekeeping duty of this profession.
Yeah, the primary mission for today's show is giving you the tools to understand exactly how to handle signers who show up with expired or missing identification.
Right.
We're going to define the exact statutory limits of using a credible witness when those IDs fail. And, ultimately, we're going to show you how to keep your notary commission safe from those massive career-ending penalties.
And as an entry-level notary, those penalties should definitely make you sit up perfectly straight.
Yeah.
Because one wrong journal entry could cost you everything.
Exactly.
We're going to explain exactly how to avoid that $10,000 mistake in just a moment. But first, let's take a quick second to support the network that makes this broadcast possible.
Yeah, I highly encourage you to pick up the Notary Knowledge books authored by Derek Spruill. They are just essential reading. You can also visit the Notary Knowledge website for an incredible library of, ongoing resources.
And while you're upgrading your professional skills, you absolutely have to check out the video broadcast, No Notary with Eddie Montes Travis. It is packed with visual breakdowns of complex laws.
Yeah, it really is.
And for those days when you're rushing between appointments, catch the fast-paced short-form series, Marylyn's 90 Seconds of Notary. All right, let's get into Foundational Fridays, the expired ID dilemma.
So to really understand this dilemma, we have to kind of pull back and look at the underlying architecture of notarial law.
Yeah.
According to the Legal Compliance Report on Modern Practice, the regulatory landscape regarding expired IDs is fractured into three distinct philosophical categories.
Three categories, got it.
Right. The first category is what we call strictly prohibited. In these states, the identification must be current and unexpired at the exact moment of the notarization. No exceptions, no grace periods.
Okay, so that's the strictest standard. What's the alternative then?
Well, the second category involves issuance-based grace periods, so states like California and Florida operate under this philosophy. Yeah, they allow you to rely on an expired identification document, like a passport, provided that the document was issued within a specific statutory window, which is usually the last 5 years.
That's fascinating because it focuses on when the background check was done.
Right.
Rather than when the plastic actually expires.
Exactly.
And what about the third category?
The third category relies on expiration-based grace periods. These are primarily states that have adopted RULONA.
Oh, RULONA, which stands for the Revised Uniform Law on Notarial Acts, right? I always hear about RULONA. Why do states actually adopt that?
It's essentially an attempt to create a standardized national framework in a country where all 50 states have entirely different notary rules.
Yeah, that sounds like a mess.
It is. Interstate commerce gets very complicated when every state has a totally different definition of a valid ID. So RULONA states like Iowa, Montana, and North Dakota chose a more pragmatic approach.
Okay.
They allow you to accept a government-issued ID that has been expired for no more than 3 years prior to the date of the Notarial Act.
Okay, I love a good analogy. So I'm thinking of state ID laws, kind of like milk expiration dates.
Okay.
Like, the strictly prohibited states treat that ID as instantly spoiled the very day after the expiration date printed on the plastic, 1 minute past midnight, and it's sour.
Right.
But other states give you a specific statutory shelf life window, like a grace period, before they consider the ID legally spoiled.
Mm.
As a novice, you really have to know exactly what kind of refrigerator your state is running.
That is a highly accurate way to visualize it, because if you guess wrong, you're the one left holding the liability.
Yeah.
So let's look at how this actually plays out at the signing table. Imagine you're working in Illinois. A signer named Nora arrives for her appointment, reaches into her bag, and suddenly panics.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she left her passport on her kitchen counter. She asks if you can just proceed anyway, since she, technically owns the ID, she just doesn't have it on her.
Honestly, this happens all the time. But just because she owns it doesn't mean we can magically verify it. I'm assuming forgetting an ID doesn't give you a free pass.
A firm no. Legally speaking, forgetting an ID at home does not qualify as being impossible to obtain. You must instruct Nora to halt the signing, go home, retrieve her passport, and come back.
Makes sense.
Furthermore, Illinois falls into that first rigid category we discussed. They strictly prohibit expired IDs, so when Nora comes back, that passport must be fully current.
So Nora's definitely making a U-turn. But what happens if the signer physically has the ID in their hand, but the state itself has physically altered it? Let's say you're in Arizona, and a signer named Elias presents a driver's license that has the corner clipped off. The expiration date has passed, but he hands you a temporary paper receipt from the DMV showing he applied for a new one. Can you take the clipped plastic and the paper receipt together?
You cannot. Arizona is another strictly prohibited state.
Oh, wow.
The underlying philosophy here is fraud prevention. When a DMV clips the corner of a license or punches a hole in it, they're physically invalidating that document to prevent a citizen from having two active IDs floating around at the same time.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Once it's clipped and expired, it's legally dead for notarial purposes. And that temporary paper receipt, it lacks the necessary security features like a photograph or physical description to stand on its own as a government-issued ID.
So it's instantly spoiled milk in Arizona. The plastic is dead, and the paper just isn't enough.
Exactly.
Which brings us to an even trickier situation. Not an altered domestic ID, but a foreign one. Let's head over to California. A signer named Sebastian sits down and presents a passport from his home country, but it expired last week.
Now, this is where the laws require real precision because California uses that issuance-based grace period.
Right, the 5 years thing.
Under California Civil Code, Section 1185, you can accept a valid passport from the applicant's country of citizenship or a valid consular ID, provided it meets one of two specific tests. It must either be current or it must have been issued within the past 5 years.
Okay, let me do the math on that. If Sebastian's foreign passport expired last week, but the issue date printed on the inside says it was issued 4 years ago, it still passes the test.
Precisely. It passes the issuance test. This is arguably the single most misapplied rule in California practice.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Novices see the expiration date, panic, and turn the signer away. But the law doesn't care that it expired last week because it was issued within the last 5 years.
Ah, gotcha.
The background check is deemed recent enough to trust. However, if it was issued 6 years ago and expired last week, it fails both the current test and the issuance test. Then you have to refuse it.
That makes a lot of sense when you realize the state is just trying to put a statute of limitations on how old the original background check is.
Right.
But let me push back for a second with a real-world curveball. What if an ID is obviously expired, maybe by 4 or 5 years, but the signer is an 85-year-old resident in a nursing home?
That's tough.
Yeah, someone who hasn't driven in a decade and is physically incapable of waiting in line at a DMV. Is there any common sense exception for that, or are we just abandoning them without access to legal services?
Well, it is a heartbreaking reality of the job. But as a commissioned officer, you cannot invent your own rogue exceptions just because you feel sympathetic. The law is the law.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
However, some state legislatures have actually recognized this exact humanitarian dilemma and written logical accommodations directly into their statutes.
Oh, really?
Virginia is a perfect example of this pragmatism. Virginia law specifically allows individuals who reside in assisted living facilities or nursing homes to use identification, like a driver's license or a passport that has been expired for up to 5 years.
That is brilliant.
Yeah.
It protects the overall integrity of the system while making a compassionate legal accommodation for citizens with severe mobility issues.
Exactly.
But it all comes down to knowing the exact text of your specific state's handbook. You can't just apply Virginia's compassion if you're commissioned in Arizona.
No, you cannot guess. You have to know.
And keeping track of whether you are allowed to accept an ID or whether you need to record a specific serial number is enough to make anyone's head spin.
It really is.
If you get it wrong, the fines can be catastrophic. We're going to show you exactly how to navigate the journaling requirements in just a moment. But first, we want to share a tool that makes the entire process practically foolproof. We highly recommend checking out the One Ledger Notary eJournal, available right now on the Apple App Store.
It's a fantastic digital tool crafted by the Magnificent Works team. It streamlines the entire record-keeping process, ensuring you capture all the statutorily required elements without second-guessing yourself.
Which is so important.
Yeah, which, as we're learning today, is absolutely critical for your legal compliance.
It really is a game changer.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a special call to action for you. Use the code NOTARYKNOW50. That's NOTARYKNOW50 to get 50% off the first year of your annual plan. Don't risk your commission on sloppy record keeping.
Highly recommended.
All right, we've talked about what to do when an ID is expired or damaged. But what happens when physical IDs fail completely? Like when the signer has absolutely nothing to their name and getting a new ID from the DMV is genuinely impossible. Enter the credible witness. I like to call this the human ID card.
The human ID card is an incredibly accurate way to conceptualize it. When a principal signer lacks valid government-issued photo identification, the law in many states allows you to use a credible witness.
Okay.
This is a living, breathing person who stands in front of you and vouches for the identity of the signer under penalty of perjury.
So they're raising their right hand and swearing an oath that this person is exactly who they claim to be on the document.
Yes. And because you are substituting hard plastic for a human being's word, it is treated under notarial law as a strict last resort. The burden of proof is intense.
I can imagine.
In California, for example, the witness has to swear to 5 very specific facts. They must swear that the signer is indeed the person named in the document. They must swear that they personally know the signer. They must swear that it is very difficult or impossible for the signer to obtain proper ID. They must swear that the signer currently possesses no qualifying ID whatsoever. And crucially, they must swear that they, as the witness, have no financial interest in the document.
Man, that financial interest part is a massive hurdle. Let's see how this actually works in practice. Imagine a signer named Hazel in New York.
Okay.
Hazel needs a document notarized. She has no valid ID, and she wants to use her next-door neighbor as a credible witness. Can she just bring her neighbor to the table?
Well, it depends entirely on your relationship with that neighbor. New York allows the use of one credible witness, but there's a major catch. That single neighbor must be personally known to both the signer, Hazel, and to you, the notary public.
Wait, so if I'm a mobile notary traveling to Hazel's house, and I've never met her neighbor in my life, New York is telling me that one witness suddenly isn't going to cut it. That sounds like a logistical nightmare.
It is an administrative burden, but it's designed to prevent collusion. If you do not personally know the neighbor, New York law requires you to utilize 2 credible witnesses.
Wow.
And both of those neighbors must personally know Hazel, and both of them must possess valid, current, government-issued identification to prove their own identities to you before they can swear the oath for Hazel.
Okay, so Hazel manages to wrangle 2 neighbors who have perfect driver's licenses.
Yeah.
Let's do a quick impartiality check here. Even with perfect IDs, neither of those neighbors can have any financial interest in the transaction, right? Like they cannot be named anywhere in the paperwork.
That's an absolute deal breaker. If the document Hazel is signing happens to be a property deed transferring a slice of land to one of those neighbors, that neighbor's credibility is legally destroyed.
Got it.
They stand to benefit from the transaction, so their oath is tainted. They cannot act as the human ID card.
That makes perfect sense. The witness has to be entirely neutral. Let's look at another modern challenge. A signer named Luna in Pennsylvania. Luna wants to use a digital driver's license on her smartphone to identify herself.
Very common now.
Yeah, this is a massive trend, people just tapping their phones. But digital IDs aren't explicitly listed in Pennsylvania's traditional physical ID statutes.
And this is a classic example of technology moving exponentially faster than state legislatures. Because Pennsylvania law specifically requires an unexpired physical government-issued ID like a tangible non-driver ID card or a paper passport, Luna's digital ID fails the statutory test.
Oh, no.
Yeah, as far as the law is concerned, she's sitting there with no ID at all.
So she needs a credible witness.
Yeah.
But if Pennsylvania is anything like New York, I'm guessing it isn't simple.
It's arguably stricter. Pennsylvania allows for a single credible witness. However, they mandate a remarkably high bar. This single witness must personally know both Luna and the notary.
Really? And no alternative?
Right. There is no two-witness alternative like in New York. If you, as the notary, do not personally know anyone in Luna's immediate circle who can vouch for her, the notarization simply cannot proceed under Pennsylvania law. You have to walk away.
That puts you in a really tough spot. Which brings up a question I know entry-level professionals get asked constantly. What about family members? If I need a credible witness and I don't have a neutral neighbor, can I just bring my brother or my spouse to swear the oath?
It's a tempting shortcut, but it is highly, highly risky. While using family members is not universally prohibited in plain text by every single state statute, relying on them is a dangerous legal strategy.
Why is the risk so high if the state doesn't explicitly ban it?
Because of that impartiality rule we just explored, family members are inherently entangled in each other's finances and estates.
Ah, I see.
Yeah, if a husband witnesses a property deed for his wife, or, an adult child acts as a credible witness for a parent's power of attorney where they're also a beneficiary, their impartiality is completely destroyed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If that notarization is ever challenged in civil court years down the line, a judge will look at that family member's testimony and assign it significantly less weight than a neutral third party's. The legal minefield. Experienced professionals will almost always demand that you find an unrelated, disinterested witness to protect the integrity of the document.
A legal minefield is right. Which brings us perfectly into our final segment, the danger zone.
Yes.
We're talking about journaling requirements and penalties. Because once you've finally figured out whether the ID is accepted or you've navigated the credible witness oath, you actually have to write it all down. And recording this information in your journal is where people really face devastating consequences.
It's exactly where the fines happen. When you are utilizing credible witnesses, recording their information in your journal is a matter of strict statutory compliance. And the underlying philosophy of what you should record gives you absolute whiplash depending on what state line you cross.
Let's talk about that whiplash, because at the top of the show, we mentioned a $10,000 penalty in California. How does someone actually trigger that?
Well, it comes down to California Government Code, Section 82(6). California is fiercely focused on fraud prevention. So if you use credible witnesses, the state demands a heavy paper trail.
Right.
You must record the type of ID the witnesses presented to prove their own identities. You must record the specific serial or identifying numbers of those IDs. You must record the exact dates of issuance or expiration.
That's a lot.
And you must obtain the physical signatures of the witnesses right there in your journal. Failing to properly execute and record these identity protocols carries a civil penalty of up to $10,000.
Okay, so California says write absolutely everything down, secure the serial numbers, and get the signatures. The more data, the better. But what about states like Texas and Illinois? Do they want the same massive paper trail?
They want the complete opposite. Texas and Illinois operate on a philosophy of consumer privacy. They strictly prohibit notaries from recording ID serial numbers or collecting biometric data like thumbprints in their journals.
Wait, they prohibit it?
Yeah. In Texas, you are only allowed to record the witness's name, their address, and a general description of the identification method, like simply writing driver's license. If you write down the actual driver's license number in Texas, you're committing a violation of state privacy rules.
Wow. So what gets you an A+ for fraud prevention in California gets you a massive privacy violation in Texas. The philosophies are just entirely at odds. Where does Arizona fall on this spectrum?
Arizona leans much closer to California's fraud prevention model. They require you to record the ID serial numbers of your credible witnesses. Furthermore, they are doubling down on security.
Oh.
Starting September 12, 2026, Arizona will mandate that you capture a right thumbprint in your journal for any transaction affecting real property like deeds or mortgages.
The lesson here is crystal clear. Being a novice means you cannot rely on generalizations. You must intimately, deeply know your specific state's journal rules. You can't just rely on a Facebook group where a well-meaning notary from Texas is giving privacy advice to a notary in California.
Absolutely not.
Following another state's philosophy could literally cost you your commission.
It's the fastest way to lose your seal and face civil liability. Identity verification and journaling are not suggestions. They are the foundational architecture of the public's trust in our office.
And if you have questions about navigating these complex scenarios, email your questions to Derek@dereksproul.com. We will try to answer as soon as possible at the end of our shows.
We always look forward to analyzing your questions.
Before we wrap up, a huge thanks to the team behind the scenes. Our executive producer is Derek Sproul. Lead writer is Marylyn Trotter. Graphics by Eddie Montes Travis. Music by Thomas Bynum. And this broadcast is produced by Magnificent Works Business Solutions.
It has been a fantastic foundational Friday.
Before we go, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. As remote online notarization, or RON-ON, continues to explode, and biometric identity proofing becomes the new standard, we're entering this era of digital certainty. So how long will the traditional personal knowledge of a human credible witness actually remain a reliable legal standard? Can a neighbor's sworn oath really compete with facial recognition and encrypted credential analysis in the year 2030? Something to think about the next time you're forced to rely on a human ID card. Don't just be listeners of the knowledge, be doers of the knowledge. This is Notary Knowledge. Until next time.
Are you looking for an edge, flexible income, and immediate professional respect? Discover the hidden opportunity of becoming a public official with the book, Becoming a Notary by Derek Sproul. This beginner's guide provides the universal roadmap to launch your new career. You will learn the core mission of deterring fraud, the essential tools of the trade, and exactly how to protect yourself while building a respected business. Get your copy of Becoming a Notary on Amazon, and step into a rewarding profession.